A Call of Duty game has been released every year since 2003, from its first release simply named Call of Duty, to the upcoming game of 2020, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, the 5th game in the Black Ops series, and the 17th game in the whole Call of Duty franchise. Now, when Infinity Ward started to create the first Call of Duty, they never could have imagined just how big and vast the game as a whole would become. It all started when a couple of guys who had been previously working for a game studio called 2015 Games, aka the developers of the Medal of Honor series, said, "Hey, we can make a World War II shooter and make it better." These guys were Grant Collier, Jason West, and Vince Zampella. After leaving 2015 Games because they were dissatisfied with the contract parent company Electronic Arts had over them, the guys founded Infinity Ward in 2002 with the help of Activision, meaning Activision would fund and publish the game, while Infinity Ward did all the heavy lifting of development. The original codename for Call of Duty was simply Medal of Honor Killer, showing that the boys at Infinity Ward were out for blood, and they knew their first game would definitely have to make a big mark on the video games industry. And boy did it. In the United States alone, Call of Duty sold more than 790,000 copies and earned $29.6 million by August of 2006. And in the UK, Call of Duty sold more than 95,000 copies by the end of 2003, meaning that Big Papa Activision was extremely happy. Now, the plan is to review every single Call of Duty game going forward, as I'd really like to make a whole series out of it. So, without further ado, here's my take on where it all started. Call of Duty 1. Call of Duty 1 starts you off as Private Martin, a new recruit training to be a paratrooper in the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment. Now, the only reason I know this is because I had to look it up. I couldn't remember my silent protagonist's name until I heard it called in-game for like the 17th time. There would be points in the game where my commanding officer would be yelling, "Private Martin, go over there and take out that anti-air cannon!" And I'd look around at my brothers in arms and come to the realization that, oh crap, he's talking to me. The game does this several times, as you not only play as Private Martin, but you also play as a British soldier known as Sergeant Jack Evans, and a Soviet volunteer, Corporal Alexei Voronin. And I say volunteer in quotations because a lot of Soviet soldiers were forced by their country in World War II to fight, which is actually shown in the game quite well during the Russian portion of the story. Back to the main game though. After finishing your training as Private Martin, it skips forward to a debrief from your commanding officer, Captain Foley, voiced by Steve Bloom, who, if you don't know, is also the voice actor for Tank Dempsey in the Call of Duty Zombies mode, which I think is really cool that Steve Bloom has stuck around with Call of Duty from the very beginning. But back to the debrief. It shows a map of Normandy and the upcoming D-Day invasion. But as a paratrooper, you're not going to be fighting on the beaches. You're actually going to be flown in behind enemy lines and dropped feet first into hell. Private Martin's mission is to make his way to a farm clearing and plant a beacon so that the rest of the company has a clear landing space. After doing so, you and your company get ambushed from nearby farmhouses. The Germans are shooting MG42s, MP40s, and tossing grenades our way. After fighting through and clearing the farmhouses, we then proceed on to our next objective. So, by now, I've had time to get a feel for the controls of the game, how enemy AI works, and how the game runs. And I gotta say, so far, the game feels great. This game was released 17 years ago, and honestly, it runs better than some of the games that were released this year. Granted, I'm playing on a PC with a mouse and keyboard, and the game is running at 1440p at 144 frames per second, so maybe that has something to do with it. But even still, it looks great now, and it looked even better for the year it was released. There is one thing I enjoy about Private Martin's story though. It's the little journal entries he makes before and after each mission he goes on. It genuinely brings a good sense of character development to the game. The only thing I wish that would have been done was to bring in a voice actor to maybe read out his journal. I think that would have brought it to a more personal level because of how the American campaign was written and shown. I say this because the American campaign is like a retelling of that old HBO show, Band of Brothers. It's definitely not a one-to-one retelling, but you can see the not-so-subtle references and homages to the show many times in the game. I'm going to move forward a few missions to the first time the British and the Americans meet. The first time we see what would become the poster child for Call of Duty in the future, Captain Effin Price. As this is the first time I've ever played Call of Duty 1, this was a huge surprise to me. His character design is almost the same as it is today, with his manly man's mustache and chops to his take no prisoners attitude and bravado. But his voice actor is different, being played by Michael Goh, who is actually the voice actor for the Carmine brothers in the Gears of War games if you didn't know. Anyway, we fight through a German-occupied mansion, making our way to the basement to find a few holding cells. The main objective of this mission was to find and extract 2 British officers, one being Captain Price, and the other being Major Ingram. After finding only Captain Price, we make our way out of the mansion, fighting off German reinforcements and making it to an extraction zone. But for the people who haven't played it yet, I don't want to spoil the rest of the American storyline. So now we will move on to the next chapter. The British campaign. The British story, as stated before, follows Sergeant Jack Evans. Again, a hard to remember character, although Jack has one of the more interesting campaigns as far as gameplay and story goes. The first mission as Jack starts off his story a little rocky. It's basically a capture and hold the position till friendly forces provide backup type of thing. And gosh, this mission just drags on and on. It starts with Jack and his British comrades flying in on airplane-like gliders. They end up crash landing, but luckily it was right where it needed to be. After attacking the main objective, being a German-occupied bridge, we then hold this position for what feels like forever. Only because after attacking the bridge and successfully running off the bad guys, we then have to defend it for about 20 minutes. Just endless waves of Germans coming from the north side of the bridge. Then here come the tanks, which isn't so bad considering we have an anti-tank cannon, but even still, if you let up for 1 minute and one of the tanks gets too close, they just blow you and your squad sky high, and then you gotta restart the whole thing over again. Checkpoints for this mission in particular are few and far between, but after that godforsaken bridge, we then move on to our next mission. Captain Price and our protagonist, Sergeant Evans, are tasked with assisting a squad known as 3 Troop on a mission to take out anti-air cannons on a dam, and also destroying the dam's power generators. But as I'm rewatching the gameplay footage and listening to who's giving the debrief, I'm surprised to find out that after a quick Google search, it's none other than Jason Statham giving us the debrief. Yes, the Jason Statham. He plays Sergeant Waters, and when I found this out, I was kind of mind blown. Then again, this game came out in 2003, back before Jason Statham was a big player in the film industry, so I can see why he took the gig. Nonetheless, he does a great job and it sounds very natural.
All right, settle down. We've got new orders straight from SOE, as well as 2 new transfers from the 6th Airborne to help us carry them out. They were highly recommended for this operation as a result of their actions on D-Day. Captain Price, Sergeant Evans, welcome to 3 Troop. Now, let's get down to business.
As I was saying, the dam mission was really fun. You start with a sniper rifle and you gotta make your way across the dam, picking off bad guys as you go, and planting C4 charges along the way wherever there's an anti-aircraft gun. After you get about halfway across the dam, there's a door that leads to a staircase. You make your way through the dam now, fighting Germans in close quarters with SMGs and pistols to end up at the very bottom where the power plant is located. You blow it up and there's a little bit of backtracking going back the same way you came. But as you're doing so, you can hear a German officer over the PA system saying that I should just turn myself in and that they've captured my CO. But to hell with that, right? I make my way up to the top, and there's Captain Price and Sergeant Waters waiting for me in a truck. I hop in the back and we try to make our escape. I say try because the next part of the mission is our character shooting out of the back of the truck as Captain Price drives and Sergeant Waters does pretty much absolutely nothing. What the hell, Jason Statham? I thought you were supposed to be a badass. Anyway, after taking out the Germans following us in trucks and on motorcycles, we then proceed to an airfield where we take over an anti-aircraft gun and take out attacking German airplanes. We then steal a plane and get out of there, proceeding on to the next mission. The last British mission I'm gonna talk about is the OSS mission. It's one where Captain Price and the player dress up in disguise and infiltrate a German warship. It's really cool because we sneak through the whole ship without anyone knowing we are the enemy. That is until we blow up the insides of the ship and try to make our escape, which then leads us to fighting all the Germans that we had gotten past previously, collecting some intel in the main hull of the ship, and finding an escape boat. That concludes the British section of the game so far, and for me, the British section is the most unique of the 3 factions. I know that Medal of Honor did the whole spy infiltration thing first, but on a personal level, I've never seen it until now. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool to be a spy in World War II, and I hope future titles do it more. Anyway, after the British storyline, we come to the final and most messed up faction, the Russians. The Russian part of the game focuses on the harshness and devotion that the Soviet peoples had for Joseph Stalin. The first mission shows our protagonist, Corporal Alexei Voronin, as he's forced to fight the war with no weapon. Yeah, you heard that right. His commanding officers tell him to run towards the enemy, and if the guy in front of you dies, just pick up his rifle and you'll be all good. Oh yeah, and if you try to retreat, they'll just shoot you themselves. No, seriously. This actually happens. And it actually happened in World War II. From a gameplay standpoint, this is just awesome. I've never seen or heard of anything like it, and it makes you feel so vulnerable and out of place. After a few minutes of dodging bullets and hiding behind cover, we finally find an ally in Sergeant Borodin, a Soviet sniper who's been around the block a time or two when it comes to war. He guides us through hell, and he even kills an officer who attempts to shoot us thinking that we were deserters. After finding a foothold, Sergeant Borodin and the player find a radio man, and the sergeant tells him to call in a mortar strike on the German MGs up the hill. He does it, and the mortars fire. The way is clear, and we can now advance forward up the hill and onto our next mission. I gotta say, this was cinematic as hell, and I felt like it took a page out of Half-Life, because the player has control over the character through the whole mission. And the most remarkable thing to me is that you don't fire a single shot, not once. To most, this might sound boring, but to me, it's groundbreaking. Can you imagine playing a mission in a new Call of Duty where not a single shot is fired? It just won't happen. Well, maybe it won't happen. We just gotta wait and see later on this year when Black Ops Cold War drops. But back to what I was saying, the Soviet part of the game not only has this super unique aspect, but it also introduces the first time a player can drive a vehicle in Call of Duty. Mission 8 of the Soviet storyline is all about tanks. You still play as Alexei, but since the Soviet Union is low on tank drivers, you get promoted to become a tank driver. It starts off in an open field, so you as the player can learn all the tank controls and eventually get a feel for how to drive and shoot. It's pretty fun, and you come across a lot of Germans along the way to your final objective, which is a small town that has you traversing through a city using close quarters combat while in a big bulky tank, meaning going around every corner is dangerous. But we eventually make our way through it, capturing the town and securing our position. This is the final mission for the Soviets for the moment, as we go back one last time to revisit our American and British allies. Again, I'm not going to spoil the ending of the game because you should really try to experience it firsthand if you haven't. So, for now, I want to look back at how the game is as a whole. First off, I want to talk about the cinematic moments, like the car chase in the American chapter to fighting off German planes with an AA gun at the airfield in the British chapter. And finally, the first mission of the Soviet chapter, where we never fired a single round. This game surprised the hell out of me with all of that. Obviously, I've seen the big explosions, cinematic moments of the newer games, but I didn't expect to see or feel anything like this coming from a game that was made in 2003. It just felt epic in the grand scheme of things. As far as ranking each faction's chapter, I'd say the American section was the weakest and most bland, whereas the Soviet section was the most cinematic, and to top it off, the British section being the most fun and unique. The story of Call of Duty 1, looking at it from the perspective of someone who's been playing Call of Duty games for more than 10 years, is nothing groundbreaking by today's standards. It's nothing that will get you thinking about life and where your morals and values lie, but if you think back and realize that this game was made 17 years ago, way back in 2003, you can see why this game has spawned a massive franchise. You can see how all the hard work and dedication from the developers at Infinity Ward has now paid off 1,000 times over. And even if all those guys who started Infinity Ward, being Grant Collier, Jason West, Vincent Pella, and the rest of the awesome original team are no longer there, we can still give a big thank you to them for going out and having a passion for making games and creating what some would call the biggest video game franchise of all time. So here's to you, original Infinity Ward team. Thank you. And thank you for making it all the way through my overview video of Call of Duty 1. I really do hope you enjoyed watching or listening, and maybe if you want to see more, try giving me a chance by pressing that subscribe button and giving this video a like. As you can see, I'm fairly new to this with only 85 subs, and I'm still trying to find my voice on this platform. So by hitting like and subscribe buttons, it helps me out a lot. Again, I hope you enjoyed your time here. Have a wonderful day.
Whoa.